All right. Thank you for tuning in to the community conversation brought to you by Prototype Training Systems, home of CrossFit Prototype. Sam and I are back with another nutrition episode to help provide you with some education and strategies to better your nutrition while still having a social life. There's a lot of misinformation on nutrition. We aim to provide you with some clarity. Today, we wanted to talk about 3 supplements that the average person could take and benefit in the gym. So, Sam, before we even dive into supplementation, where that would actually be applicable, um, what, why supplement? Why even consider taking a supplement? What rhyme or reason would we want to have before even trying something?
So I think the main reason to supplement would be that like the diet is deficient in something. So a lot of times we see that vegetarians or vegans will supplement with B12 because it's not found as commonly in animal or in non-animal proteins. You might supplement with a specific vitamin or mineral if you know you're lacking in it. For example, iodine is added to salt, that we're like supplementing with that on a regular basis. But I think the ones that we're talking about here today are things that aren't necessarily like needed in great quantities by the body, but by taking more of them, you could see major effects in the gym with regards to recovery and muscle synthesis, and just really anything that would help performance. Like the 3 that we're going to talk about today are beneficial in extra quantities, more so than you would get in like your normal diet. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, right on.
Cool. So John, I feel like we should start, and you should tell everyone, maybe all 3 off the bat, because it sounds like you supplement with all 3 of the things that we're going to talk about today.
Yes, I do. So 3 things that I have in my diet, and we'll kind of explain some of the benefits of them, are 1, which a lot of you probably take, which is most common, is going to be whey protein as a supplement to increase our protein intake. 2 is going to be, we're going to talk about vitamin D, why that's important, how that is going to benefit you as an athlete. And 3, which a lot of people don't really know what this is, but your body naturally makes it, is creatine monohydrate. So those are the 3 things that I take personally on a daily basis to help me perform well in the gym and recover. We're going to kind of dive into some of the benefits of each one of those. But before we start, like Sam said in the beginning, all of those are non-essential. That means that you're going to get those things. Your body makes those naturally. Well, actually, your body doesn't make protein naturally, but your body will naturally get vitamin D from the sun. Your body naturally makes creatine monohydrate. And a lot of us are going to get a certain amount of protein from what we eat, but by supplementing with each one of these things, we can get optimal levels, which can help us with muscle building, recovery, and so on. So, Sam, why don't we start with talking about vitamin D a little bit?
Okay.
Besides some of the things we can go into with how it's going to apply to the gym, what are some main reasons why someone would want to take vitamin D just for overall health?
Yeah, so vitamin D is something that probably everyone should take, whether or not you work out. Generally, vitamin D is linked to mood. So I'm sure people have heard about the seasonal affective disorder, SAD, and it like comes during the winter time, and it's very common because we don't get enough vitamin D in our day. It's not as commonly found in foods. It's more so from the sun. So during the winter months, or for people with more melanin, it's much, much harder to get vitamin D and for the body to use it. So supplementing with vitamin D is just generally a good thing to do, because deficiencies do lead to like poorer recovery, like issues with your like muscles and joints. And then also it has a huge effect on your mood, which then can also hugely affect your sleep. So those are some of like the reasons you would take it, not specific to the gym, but those are also reasons specific to the gym that you should take it.
Yeah. So just to go off of what Sam said, so you mentioned vitamin D having an impact on your muscles. So there's actually some research where they discuss, and they've applied this to athletes being deficient in vitamin D and then supplementing with vitamin D. And some of the benefits of supplementing with vitamin D is that it can actually help you with recovery. It can help you with proper muscle contraction. It can help you be able to recover better, reduce inflammation. So being able to not feel super stiff. So having proper vitamin D levels can help us with our pliability, I guess. But proper vitamin D levels have been linked to being able to run faster, jump higher, be more explosive, increased ATP, and a number of different things that are important for us to be able to train hard in the gym so we can be able to increase muscle mass and be able to perform well. So is it Alaska, Sam, that where they don't have
Yeah, they
don't
get
have
like 2 hours of
6
sunlight.
months,
Yeah, they
so
get no
that's
sunlight.
and that's where they have like a huge link with, because of that vitamin D deficiency, of depression and things like that. So we also think about not only like how this can help us in the gym, but if we're not feeling our best, we're probably also more likely to get into a little bit of a rut where we don't feel motivated to do things that we know we want to be doing to better ourselves. So it's not a magic formula. It's not anything that's going to give you incredible gains, but it is something that is going to make you feel better and potentially perform better if you take it in the in the right dosage. So the daily recommendation is, I believe it's 800 to 1,000, right, Sam? Or is it 600
Yep.
to 1,000?
800 to 1,000 is what I recommend generally.
Yeah, 800 to 1,000. They've applied this to athletes, and the recommendation for athletes, it's actually even a little bit higher. It's 2,000 to 5,000. And now if you know yourself as like being someone that's inside all the time where you're not getting out in the sun, you might want to go ahead and steer more towards that. But getting at least the bare minimum, I would probably say the bare minimum would be 2,000, just because it's been shown to be safe. So I wouldn't recommend something that's not safe. I take personally 3,000 on a daily basis, but I think the best thing to do is start having it in your diet, see how you feel. And there is an upper limit where we don't want to take too much of anything, because Sam, what's the downside of having too much vitamin D, which is probably pretty hard to have?
Yeah, so vitamin D can be like too high in quantity, and like we can develop vitamin D toxicity. Basically, the body just, for lack of like time, I guess, to explain everything, but like things start shutting down in the body, and you'll feel like achy and feverish and all those like normal things that you would feel if you were getting sick. Like that might be a sign that you've taken way too much. That vitamin D does have an upper limit. You don't want to take like 10,000 IUs a day. That's like aggressive. But it's definitely like something where it's like, if you feel your mood changing and you're more down, like you might be low in vitamin D. Like if you're feeling super fatigued, you might be low in vitamin D. So you might need to take more than other people. There's definitely like a handful of people that have some serious effects by taking vitamin D, but the incidence of that is so rare that like, I don't think by us giving a blanket statement of like, take vitamin D in this quantity would have a huge effect. And if it does affect anyone, please come talk to us and we'll tell you how to cut back and eat an appropriate amount. Because vitamin D really does come from the sun, and that's the major source. So you're not getting a ton in the diet unless you're having like super fatty fish.
Right. Yeah. And if you guys ever have any issues, it's probably always a good idea to talk to your doctor versus just taking a supplement because you heard something. So don't take even the words that we say as a prescription.
Right.
But anyways, moving on. I think probably the next one to talk about would be whey protein. So most people take this, but I don't know if everyone fully understands why this is important to have. So Sam, what is the benefit of having whey protein versus having other protein sources? Because there's a lot of different ones out there.
Yeah, so whey protein is one, super convenient. It's something that we talked about when we did our protein podcast, that like protein is probably the least convenient macronutrient. So to have whey protein in like a simple shake makes it easy to get a high quantity of protein. Also, it really just is protein. There's no other macronutrients in it. So if you're someone who's trying to count macros or hit specific goals, then having the whey protein is an easy way to get protein in the diet. There's also some research about the effects of like animal proteins versus plant-based proteins. and like how they affect the body. And we know that the body uses whey protein really well, and it's like really great for muscle recovery and muscle synthesis. So I think, and we've talked about this before, John, not on the podcast, but totally separately, that like in some capacity, like whey protein might not even be considered a supplement. Like it might just be considered food.
Right.
But it is something that we are eating in addition to like our normal meals, so to speak. So today we are considering it a supplement. I don't know, John, do you want to dive a little bit more into whey protein, why you take it, why you think it's beneficial for other people to take as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think like some of the big like question marks around like protein supplementation is the absorption rate of how quickly you're going to absorb whey protein versus casein protein versus soy protein, and what amino acids are actually in the protein source. So a lot of us have the goal of building muscle, and you're going to find the leucine present in whey protein. You're going to find leucine present in casein protein. Soy is it's not a terrible plant-based alternative. It's better than other sources, but having leucine present in your protein supplementation is definitely beneficial because that is the amino acid for muscle building. Now, the absorption rate, it's like up for debate whether or not it is the end all be all, meaning that like if you work out and you take a fast absorbing protein powder versus a slower, or whether or not you take it immediately after your workout, it's up for debate because now they're starting to see some studies that it's more about getting enough protein and equally spreading it out throughout the day versus like immediately after like your workout. Like I think I've heard the term like anabolic, like you're a more anabolic state, like if you have your protein after you work out. But I think now that's like a little bit of a question mark. But either way, how quickly your body's absorbing the protein, you want to just make sure that you have a protein that is going to have the right, that's going to be a complete protein, and that you'll be able to utilize it for recovery. Casein protein would be something that you would have before bed. The theory behind that is that since it's a slower absorbing protein, that you are going to absorb it slower, which means that you would like keep your amino acid profile like higher throughout the night. That's still like up for debate of whether or not it is that it matters, but there hasn't been anything to show that there's a downside to taking either one of those. But there's definitely like better protein options. And usually what we would recommend is a protein powder that also doesn't contain a lot of other stuff, because most of us are probably going to be eating food anyways. So you probably don't want to have a protein powder that has like 30 grams of carbohydrates and like 10 grams of fat, because now you're basically having a meal replacement, which we're not huge fans of, because eating food is probably better because you're going to get a variety of different nutrients from your food, and it'll probably keep you full longer. But now we're going on a tangent. Protein powder should mostly be protein, typically in the range of 24 to like 30 grams of protein, with carb intake and about like 5 or less grams, and dietary fat ideally as low as possible, and like 1 gram or so. The reason why you don't want to have the dietary fat be high in your whey protein powder is just because again, like if you're trying to recover from a workout and you have something that's like high in dietary fat and high in fiber, it's going to slow down the digestion, which again, if you're having a protein powder that is fast absorbing, then that kind of defeats the purpose. So if there is benefit to it, you're negating it by having something that has a bunch of other shit in it. But anyway,
we love protein powder. It is a good thing. If you're like, I have no idea where to start on protein powder, like let us know. We sell it at the gym. We sell one that we approve of at the gym. You like it? It tastes good, right, John?
Yeah, I like the I personally like the vanilla one, because I'll like mix it in with like smoothies. But if I'm just having like a straight up shake, and like after like at the gym, I would do chocolate.
Cool.
So now the third supplement is creatine monohydrate.
John, you were like the champion of creatine monohydrate. You're like the number one fan. So I think you should definitely launch. You should definitely launch into like why you think that this is so wonderful, and also why you take it.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I don't take anything that I think is going to have a negative side effect or have something that is a question mark on whether or not it's effective. I don't personally want to waste my money either on buying something that is not going to be beneficial. So creatine is one of the most highly researched supplements that you will find. There's hundreds of studies on creatine monohydrate. There's different kinds of creatine too. So you want to have monohydrate. A lot of times supplement companies are going to try to like make their product seem like it's superior to something that is effective, which is creatine monohydrate. So if you find stuff that has like all these different variations of something, just make sure that you're taking the right thing. So it's always good to like look at the ingredients of what you're taking, because supplements don't have to be FDA approved. So anyways, I just wanted to say that because sometimes we don't really know like what to even like grab. Like we'll be like, oh, this is creatine. It's like creatine something something, and it's like advertised as being a better alternative. So look for creatine monohydrate. We sell one at the gym. If you don't know what they have, just get it from the gym too. But anyways, your body naturally makes creatine. Okay, you're going to get creatine from animal protein for the most part of where you're going to get it in your diet. So what you eat is probably going to give you about 1 gram of creatine, which isn't enough for what has been shown in the literature to be beneficial for athletic performance, which is somewhere around 5 grams. 3 to 5 grams on a daily basis, whether you're taking a rest day or not. And it's not something that you have to like dose. Something that has to get like saturated into your cells for it to be beneficial. So it's not like a pre-workout where you take it and then you're you're going to feel like, like super energized. Like that's all like the caffeine and like the beta alanine and some of those pre-workouts makes you feel like the jitters. Creatine is not that. Creatine is something that your body makes. And what it does is that it allows you to produce, it essentially is extending the window of how long you can go ahead and do something very high intense. So your body has 3 energy systems. You have your creatine phosphate energy system, you have your anaerobic energy system, and then you have your aerobic. So when you supplement with creatine, it allows you to be able to expand that threshold of how long you can do that very hard task. 5 rep max back squat, very hard task. You can't go for 6 reps. You just can't do it. Supplement with creatine is not necessarily going to give you superpowers, but it allows you to be able to put that extra 5 pounds on the bar, be able to build muscle, and be able to push through like higher sets, or be able to be more explosive and powerful when you do something like a clean or a snatch or a heavy deadlift. It's like when you throw a baseball. That's the energy system that you're going to use. You can't do that like, you wouldn't be able to go ahead and have that same power output for any longer than that throw of that baseball. So that's like the energy system you tap into. If you try to expand that, your body starts tapping into the other energy systems like anaerobic and aerobic. So depending on how long the duration of time is that you're being intensive is where your body's going to tap in. By adding creatine into your diet, it can what it can do is that research shows that it can help with like 15 to 30% increases in strength and power over time, being able to take it consistently. You still have to train. So it's a supplement. It's not something that's like, okay, so if I take this and then I just go to the gym, you still have to go ahead and progressively overload where you're, building over time and strength and power. But this is something that can be utilized as allow you to push through some of those like harder sets and be able to recover. But again, it's not like a pre-workout where you feel like this, like, I don't know, you feel like the Incredible Hulk, where you're just like, you're gonna unleash the power. It's something that, it's just, it's essentially just like expanding like an energy system that you already have in your body. And it's just allowing you to have a little bit more of that, energy to be able to use.
So I should take creatine.
Yeah, everyone
But
should.
tell me, everyone should take it. John, for everyone listening, John loves this.
If you want to run faster, take creatine. If you want to be able to not have the barbell feel heavy in your hands, take creatine. If you want to be able to jump higher, be more explosive, take creatine. If you want to sit on the couch and feel better, take creatine. Again, it's a supplement. It's not gonna go ahead and like give you magic powers, but it can be helpful.
Now, John, in all this research, have you come across any side effects or any like negatives to taking too much creatine?
Yes. If you take, so that's a good question. So if you're taking too much, so exceeding like that 3 to 5 gram dose. So let's say you're taking like 10 grams of creatine. The side effects might be that you might have like an upset stomach. So you could go ahead and feel a little gassy. You retain water when you start taking creatine. So you might, if you start supplementing with creatine, you might see a little bit of a spike on the scale acutely. That's because your body's not used to having that in your system yet. That doesn't mean that you're going to go ahead and put on 2 pounds. It means that your body's like having like, you're going to retain some water when you first start taking it. Once you do something consistently, your body gets used to it and it doesn't hold on to like extra fluids like that. But if you take more than, the recommended dose, you could have like, you could be like a little gassy. Like, let's just put it that way. You might like fart a little bit. There's 2 ways that you can like speed up, that you can take creatine. So it takes about like 3 weeks to get like saturated into your cells where you're actually going to start feeling like benefits of taking that supplement. And that's take 3 to 5 grams every single day consistently. Or you could expand the dosage where you take 6 to 10 grams and it'll take half the amount of time. But again, the side effects is that you might feel a little bit gassy. I haven't come across anything of like overdosing, but I haven't really looked super hard on like overdosing on creatine, but
it's very hard to overdose on creatine as well.
Yeah, it would have to be like intentional. You'd probably have diarrhea before you had any other issues.
Same thing, to circle back, probably the same thing with whey protein. We didn't really talk about like side effects of too much whey protein. Yeah, probably the same thing. You're probably just going to have GI symptoms if you do too much whey protein or creatine. They're kind of similar in what they do in the body and how we're using them. So anything like that causing an upset stomach is probably the first sign that you've taken too much.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. You can keep on going.
No, not at all. But yeah, like I'm just like piggybacking on what you just said. So yeah, if you're taking too much, like if you're taking too much protein and your stomach's bothering you, then you should probably slow down how quickly you're trying to increase your protein. If you normally have 50 grams of protein a day, and what you really should be taking is like 150, you probably shouldn't do that overnight. It should probably be like a transition. So kind of like always reflect on what you're putting into your body, how you feel when you take it. If you eat too much broccoli, you're not going to feel good. I don't think anyone's going to say that broccoli is something that you shouldn't be having. It's, having too much of anything isn't going to make you feel your best. So, pay attention to how you feel when you take these things. And if you don't feel good taking it, then take smaller doses if it's something you really want to experiment with, or don't take it. It's a supplement. It's not like, it's not like water where you need to have that, it's a supplement.
Yeah. And if anything like crazy happens, right? Like at the end of the day, we are not doctors. Your doctor is going to know better than we do what's appropriate for your body based on all like your other health conditions. Now you can clue us into all of that information and we can make better recommendations based off of like your history. However, what we're talking about today is we think supplements that do have a positive effect for the vast majority of people and really have very few negative effects, and really only when they're taken to excess. And like John said, if you start slow and you build in dosage of all these 3 different things, then you might see significant changes in the gym over a longer period of time because you're building muscle, you're recovering better, and you're feeling well rested and in a positive mood on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah. And again, these are just supplements that like the average person should probably be taking. Like we're not talking about beta-alanine or citrulline malate, like stuff that also has benefits to taking, but like who needs to get the jitters before they do a workout? Probably not my dad at 50 years old. Probably just and maybe a little bit more like protein in his diet. And those things are going to be like beneficial for him to take. So like regular person, these are things that can be beneficial to you. But
right.
Yeah. Sam, anything to add?
I don't think so. These are exciting supplements to talk about. You take them all. Even I take vitamin D, and I don't take any supplements otherwise. So definitely a good list. Highly recommend. And if you are listening to this and you still have questions about it and you're still unsure if it's appropriate for you, please do reach out to us. John, did you have anything to say before we close it out? Recap today?
I don't think so. I think we said it.
Yeah, I think we did a good job not going too in depth. But again, if someone wants to hear it, do let us know. We will talk to you with complete science. John definitely gave us some good scientific background on some of these supplements, but we are always happy to talk more science and not just our recommendations. So with that said, of course, if there are any questions or concerns that you have thought of during this podcast, or that you just have thought of in regular day-to-day that you want us to answer, please do let us know. We want to touch on the topics that are important to you. So send us an email, send us a text, send us a message on Facebook, or reach out to us directly. If you have suggestions or questions or concerns, if you'd like to set up a nutrition consult, we can do that as well. We can send you the link so that you can set up a consult with either John or myself. And thank you so much for getting this far through our podcast, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.